Hey everybody, have you ever wondered why all you see are 30, 60, and 90-day transformations that are posted on social media? You never see a 6-month or hardly ever see a 12-month or a 2-year success story. Part of the reason for that is they don't exist. I've been in the fitness industry a very long time, and I was just speaking with one of my clients about this the other day. He said, "Jonathan, why don't you post more of the immediate transformations?" He said, "Why don't you want to put up my transformation?" And I said, "Because that puts the wrong impression in people's minds. I'm trying to change that. I've been trying to change that since day one." My worst employee of all time, somebody I had to fire in 2006. He had a binder with dozens of outrageous testimonials, real testimonials, incredible transformations, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, on rare occasion maybe even 4 months, or maybe even a little bit longer. Long-term success, however, totally elusive. You never see it. If you look this up in the medical world, where there are clinics that specialize in weight loss, when you extrapolate out to 5 years, fail rate is almost 100%. 10 years, it is 100%. 15 years, it's abysmal. 30, 60, 90-day transformations, great. That is a great excitement. People want to have that, but we got to change that, people. We got to change that, coaches. We got to change that, consumers. Stop reinforcing that there's something really valuable about that for the long-term success, because there isn't. It doesn't work out because people have not built the long-term lifestyle and behavioral changes when all they want to do is get excited about 30, 60, or 90 days. What you have to understand is that there are very different things going on once you get past that point. That's easy. Everybody does that. That is not the exception. That is the rule. If you just want to get more fit in 30, 60, or 90 days, you can find an uncertified trainer who's not a strength coach, who's going to work you too hard, and if you survive, you'll be leaner. Probably not more fit, but you will be leaner. If you want long-term success, you're going to have to take a very hard look at what's going on inside your wiring and your decision making, and you have to interface with the world in a completely different way. I lost 70 pounds in 2007. 10 years later, I've been even lighter than that sometimes when I want to get even leaner. I've maintained that over 10 years, personally. I have a client who lost about 100 pounds on the front end, which I do not advocate for. I do not like rapid transformations because there are things that happen underneath the surface with LPL, leptin and ghrelin imbalance, thyroid imbalance. When you do rapid transformation, actually set people up for worse long-term outcomes. So you have to be careful about that. He's a very rare exception. That was in 2005. It's 2007 now. He is even more fit than he was after his initial transformation. It's singular. You almost never see this, but that's because I've turned my approach to long-term success a long time ago. What I really want to encourage people to do is to start thinking about what it is you can consistently do 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. If you look at the medical intervention studies, where people have done bypass, or they've done some sort of bariatrics or lap band, or they've been in an environment that's very controlled, and there's impositions on them that help them transform very rapidly over the course of 6 months or 12 months in some cases, which is a little bit better. When they follow out their own study participants, and they define success as any weight less than the starting weight. So if somebody's 400 pounds at the beginning, they drop to 200 pounds, they lose 200 pounds. Woo! Awesome. That is great. Okay? If they go back up to 399 at year 10, they're considered a success. They're tallied as a success. And even with that laxity in the tally, the best you're going to find is a 20% success rate with internal studies where a medical clinic, a weight loss clinic, is trying to boost their numbers. The best they're going to claim is 1 out of 5 with that definition. So something else has to change. I'm not totally averse to the excitement that comes from 30, 60, 90 days, but we have to be careful what we're doing, what we're reinforcing for the public, because the stats keep getting worse. The average American is heavier, more obese, higher body fat percentage than ever, but the lowest percent of people ever thinks they're overweight. We have a huge bifurcation going on between our perception of reality and reality, which everybody can agree is occurring in the political arena, whatever side you're on. That is just what's going on nowadays. Social media is amplifying our disconnect from reality. And on cancer studies now, it's looking like the average American, about 1 out of 2 people is going to get a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime, okay? We are not getting healthier. So all of these exciting, I won't name all the programs out there, but what you see on the infomercials, you see on the TV, that is the rule. That's not the exception. Anybody who comes in here, anybody who goes down the street and works at any fitness facility, and they've got that initial excitement, you're going to be able to post something seemingly superhuman in the first 30, 60, or 90 days, and then what? Then what's going to happen? Really, what's going to happen? What's the plan? Most people are going to revert to their old lifestyle, sometimes in a worse hormonal condition, most times in a worse hormonal condition than they were before. So usually what you find is that if you look at somebody 1 year, 2 years later, 3 years later, they're actually at a higher body fat percentage. They may not even be heavier because they've wasted so much lean mass, but they will be at a higher body fat percentage. So their comorbidities and their risk of all-cause mortality is at a peak for their life after having gone through one of these dramatic transformations. That's not success. We got to start changing our mindset around what we think of as success. You know, we would not look at somebody who attends the first half of their college semester and slap the label on them of MD or even their bachelor degree. We suspend judgment on how well they're going to do for a few years, because it's going to take a few years. And that's what's happening with the rapid transformations out there, is you're basically patting somebody on the back, as you should give them their due, but we need not hold up attendance for the first half of college semester 1 as an indication of ultimate success long term. And in fact, if we did that, you know what would happen. If people said, okay, I just need the public accolade that comes from just showing up for the first half of college semester 1, what do you think is going to happen with long-term success rates? They're going to drop. So it's not to belittle. That's not where I'm going with this. I want people excited about it. This is my industry. I love the excitement that people have. But we have to have a plan. There's got to be a strategy on day 91, day 61, day 31, day 121, day 366. There has to be some sort of strategy in play. And if it's not stupid simple, so simple for people, the program is not going to be doable long term. It isn't. Nobody's out there year 3, 4, 5, unless they have a mental condition, counting macros and calories exactly, abiding by it perfectly at that point. There's some people I know, freaks, okay? People who are in the physique competitive world, or they have some sort of modeling that they have to be ready for. That's their job. They treat it like their job, and they're pretty close to that. They are pretty close to that, although there's a whole argument about whether or not we have body dysmorphia we're working with when somebody's got that level of fixation. But one man's obsession is another man's just drive, right? Motivation. So the point being, excuse me, the point being, what's the plan? Anyone can go hard for a little bit and say, look at this. Very few people have the wherewithal thereafter. Amanda Lee Duckworthy, in her TED Talk, she talked about grit, what you gotta have to predict long-term success. So having an external intervention based purely on passion and excitement, by definition, is not grit. So you're equipped with no grit, you're going to pat yourself on the back, other people are going to pat you on the back. Now what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen, and it has happened, and it does happen, and it will continue to happen until we can reevaluate as an entire industry, as this subculture within the American society or Western society, and start looking at true delayed gratification, true long-term strategy, what I call investing in physiology, the compounded interest of physiology. Everybody's familiar with the tables of retirement investment, wherein you see an 18-year-old, 16-year-old kid put in $50 a month to his or her retirement fund, and you run the table forward, and then you compare that to somebody who starts at 45 or 50 years old and puts in $1,000 a week. They'll never catch up. Compounded interest. So many people are approaching fitness like that late in life investor in retirement. I'm going to put $1,000 in a week until life happens, and then I'm going to put zero in. So guess what happens now? You're even farther behind that person who was just doing their $50 a month or whatever it was. They grew it a little bit over the years, $500 a month, maybe $1,000 a month when they're making better money in the future. And you run these tables forward, and it's crazy. You know, you get one person who's got about $300,000 in their retirement fund, and another who's got $10 million. It's not even close. Physiology, biology is going to work the same way. Explosive excitement. If that's your entry point, cool. Then what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You've got to look deep inside and think about this. That's really what I want to leave with people. That's hopefully one day my legacy that I can leave in the fitness industry is that I will have changed enough minds among my peer group. I have hired and developed hundreds of trainers over the years. I've worked with many, many strength coaches, nutritionists, RDs, people in the medical world, MDs, and my hope is that we can move away from this. It's tough because people get stuck in an advertising and marketing